Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. What happens in the last days? Well, there's social unrest, societal collapse, chaos, Mad Max, for lack of a better term. We all know the Mad Max movies, and likely if you're old enough, you've probably watched some of them or at least seen commercials about them. It's a society where all law and order has broken down. It is the Wild West. People are just trying to survive. And what happens out of that? Well, gangs and cartels and militias grow up out of the vacuum of security and out of the vacuum of law enforcement. That's what's going to happen in the last days. It's going to get that bad. So you might need some sort of way to defend yourself, some way to secure yourself and the things you have to some extent. Something to think about. Now, in Germany, they are drilling, they are simulating what it would look like if there was an electricity blackout. So this isn't only because of the price of propane, natural gas, energy. It's a bit of a result of that, however, because if people don't want to use their propane, use their oil, etc., because the prices have doubled or tripled or are simply not there, then what they may decide to do, and that's what everybody's deciding to do here as well, is use fans, little heaters that they can plug into electricity, because electricity is the way to go, isn't it? Everything going electric because of quote unquote green energy. And that's what everybody's fallen back to. Oh, I won't burn my propane stove. I'm just going to get a little electric heater because the price of that isn't going up as fast as high. Well, they talk about that in this particular article. German district blackout simulation, 400 dead in 96 hours. Municipalities in Germany are getting serious, preparing for concrete consequences of a widespread power blackout. It says, according to this, 400 deaths are expensive within 96 hours. After 24 hours, livestock would start dying, substations would fail, water tanks would run dry. Then there would be looting, fire, and economic damage in the hundreds of millions. Now, interesting, what's happening in Puerto Rico right now? There's Hurricane Fiona coming down the pipe. Here is the article about it. This is from Disclosed TV. Entire island of Puerto Rico loses power as Hurricane Fiona approaches. So the hurricane's just approaching, and it's the power is out across the island. The entire island of Puerto Rico has lost power. More than 1.5 million customers are without electricity as a Category 1 storm. Category 1 storm. This is not a Category 3, 4, 5 storm. This is a Category 1. What else is happening in Puerto Rico? Because they get hurricanes all the time. Well, you can read stories, but there's gangs trying to split up the cities there and the land in Puerto Rico. I think it was like 200 gangs. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I read a story about it. And because there's a vacuum of power. The power's out, but not because the power's out, but happening prior to that. There was gangs roving around trying to basically figure out what territory they're going to control. So it is Mad Max in Puerto Rico. There's lawlessness, complete lawlessness. What does the Bible say about the end times? Lawlessness is going to be occurring. The blackout, a widespread power failure, is sadly no longer a horror fairy tale of sinister conspiracy theorists, as authorities now consider the danger to be real. This is a fascinating thing. Did you ever think you would live to see such a situation in the modern world, in the Western world? There is a risk of a blackout, it said, and an overload of the power grid. For example, if 650,000 fan heaters sold this year in Germany are connected to the grid, if the gas supply fails, that could cause the grid to go down. So people bought all these heater fans, again, in an effort, propane is too expensive, run out of propane, can't afford it, I'll just plug in an electric heater. All right. And And so, and that's what people are going to do. They think, oh, that's an easy fallback, and electricity is relatively cheap, and it's there's no chance of a blackout, is there? Well, if gas gets too expensive, then everybody's going to fall back to that, and that could cause trouble.
There is a new version of session available.
Let me quit. One second. Get rid of that. Okay. Continuing. In the event of a widespread power failure, so here's what's going to happen if there is a power failure. Here's their understanding of what could occur. Nothing works anymore. This is what they're saying. In the event of a widespread power failure, nothing works anymore. Internet, landline telephone, and heating systems would fail first. So first thing that goes down is communications. Interesting, right? Followed closely by mobile communications and digital radio. Good to have an analog radio, by the way, and some communication devices like FRSs, ham radio maybe, in this event. Gas stations would run out of petrol. Why? Well, people are buying it for the generators, but secondly, if they don't have power backup systems, they won't be able to pump it out of the earth, out of their tanks. Electronic money and payment systems would fail. You wouldn't even be able to buy gas at that point. Food could no longer be cooled. All your food in your fridge and your freezer would go bad. Clinics, care facilities, water supplies, and disposal companies depend on their respective equipment to outlast the blackout. Think of 3, 4, 5 days a week and a half, 2 weeks of garbage buildup on the side streets, especially in a city is where it's worst. You have just garbage everywhere at that point. You have people dying because they don't have heat, they don't have water, all their food is rotten, they're starving, they're desperate. The only thing they have left is to create gangs, basically, and go out and steal. And this is what will be happening. More so in the cities. So you need to get out of the cities. And I think pretty much every proper-minded person says, if you can, get out of the city. Russell made it clear that the district could not ensure the power supply. Like Landsberg, he advised citizens to stock up on food and drinking water for 14 days. That means non-perishable, not stuff in your fridge or your freezer, because that could go down. They're already having significant power troubles in California. And now the whole of Germany is talking about this as a very real thing. This is going to be a dark winter, folks. You and I have not seen anything like this probably since World War II. Not seen the likes of such a thing as this, as the world in turmoil. The district will ensure that administration and civil protection, so police, work so that emergency aid can be coordinated. But how well is that going to work if they don't have stores of gasoline, if they don't have electricity? It says, for this, the equipment security has to ensure electricity for servers and satellite-supported communication systems for crisis management teams. All the 911 police services, they need electricity. They need a lot of it for all their communications. They may have generators, but if they don't have a large enough store of fuel, for if this goes on 4 or 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're going to run out of that. And soon there's not going to be any law and order because there's not going to be any law enforcement able to communicate or get out to where you are to do anything about anything. And there's going to be chaos and Mad Max everywhere. The current emergency generator can run continuously for 16 hours. However, since the police, fire brigades, and rescue workers would also need several 10,000 liters per day, negotiations are being held with heating oil suppliers. So they need huge amounts of diesel heating oil to keep the lights on just in the emergency services sector of your local city, county, etc. So don't count on emergency services when the grid goes down. This is a problem. When this is extended and this is widespread, Puerto Rico, the whole of Puerto Rico is down right now. If power goes out in your local community, well, not a big deal because usually communities around you, surrounding you, still have power. You can truck in fuel from there. Not a big deal. A little bit, you just drive outside of your community, outside of your area, and you can get whatever you need from the next county over that does have power, or the next grid section that does have power. Not a big deal. You can make it work. But when you can't drive into town to get fuel, into the big city to get fuel or something like that, then it's a big problem. I'm going to leave it there. This Germany is now simulating this, and let me just try to scroll up here. Scroll up. They are simulating it. I think 400 dead in 96 hours. That's just for a particular district in Germany. That's one district in Germany. So what would happen if that was happening across Germany, like it's happening in Puerto Rico? It's Mad Max in Puerto Rico. There's gangs roving around. There is no security. There is no law enforcement at this point in Puerto Rico. It's every man for himself. Germany thinks this is coming. This is what's coming to North America and the rest of the world as we hit the bottom, as we head into complete and total economic collapse and failure. And it's going to be worse when it does come in full force. It's going to be far worse than 1929 ever was, the Great Depression. This will be the greatest depression, and millions of people will die. What does the Bible say about the last days? Yeah, pretty much predicts that millions of people are going to die, and it's going to be Mad Max. There's going to be lawlessness abounding, and you're likely to lose your life in these last days. That's just the plain truth about it. Be prepared, folks. I hope you know the Lord Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior. He's coming soon, but before that, we're going to see some hard times, and you need to prepare. You need to be ready for it. You need to be wise. Use the brain that God gave you. Pray about it. Stock up things for some emergencies, and just be prepared for what's coming. The Bible tells us what's coming. All this stuff I'm reading, you should have known this was going to come because you were reading the Bible, and I know all my viewers knew all this was coming, but most of us in our lives, we haven't seen anything like this. This is all brand new, something we never expected, and something we never dreamed we would ever see. But this is getting closer and closer and closer to us in these last days. Thanks, folks. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.